joining us here on the North American Hub coverage of the International Four, presented by Monster Energy. I'm your host, Aaron A.C. Chambers. Thanks to Cinderin and Merlini, of course, for the breakdown. Before we jump in, this will be a best-of-5 grand finals for this America's Qualifier. One team earns their way onto the into the bracket right off the bat at the International Four. The loser of this, they're still going to Seattle, but then they're going to have to fight through another field once they get there in the preliminary stages. So make no mistake, even though both of these teams have made their way through this field and will be going to Seattle for sure, this is still an immensely important match and a hell of a lot on the line.
Yeah, and one thing to mention as well, there is no winner bracket advantage, right?
Right.
It's just a straight best-of-5. Okay.
Yep. I think we ended up doing the coin flip. Like, basically, whoever came through the winner's bracket got the immediate coin flip in game one. So there actually wasn't a coin flip. They just earned it that way. So a small advantage, but one worth mentioning nonetheless.
Right. But in going straight into the draft, we see Batrider picked up for Liquid. Bulba's, that's one of his better heroes. I want to say he plays a really good Batrider. What's really weird for me is seeing the Lycan. I have not seen Team Liquid play Lycan once this entire tournament.
Right.
And it's usually TC playing it. And they've had TC, the last 2 games at least, has been playing mid. Exclusively mid. Both Dragonite games, I do believe. And then, was Dragonite banned? No, it was not banned. But I'm curious to see if they actually switched Quakefoot to the true 1 position and have TC mid now, or if we're going to see TC back on that Lycan and we're going to have Quakefoot playing the mid again.
Well, I think that's something that everyone who's kept up with Liquid has kind of not necessarily been anticipating, but it's known as an option. And in a match this important with this much on the line, it would make sense if they practiced it, if they know that they're prepared for it. It's not something they're just deciding on the fly. If it's something that they wanted to bust out as a last-minute kind of a switcheroo just to mix things up, it would make a lot of sense. NAR are going to go ahead and grab the Dragonite. They've already landed the Disruptor and the Mirana. Lycan, as you said, not a hero you always think about when you see Team Liquid. So with the front 3 out for both, break down what you think the direction both of these drafts are taking happens to be.
Well, what's really strange for me, I didn't go over North American Rejects yet, but this is a Disruptor first, too. Like,
yeah.
That is very odd unless you see Snaw. Maybe Snaw is having an influence. They've been playing so much Disruptor, and it's been really effective as well. So maybe North American Rejects like, all right, well, maybe they did lose, but they saw the true power of, like, what Disruptor can do, and they're like, okay, maybe this here is worth the first 2.
Right.
And they chose it. So right now, we've got a support on North American Rejects. We got the Mirana, classic. It's probably Snaking playing that almost 100%.
Yeah.
And we have Korok usually playing the Dragonite. As far as who's going to be playing that Disruptor, I'm not sure. They just need to pick up now their offlaner and another support. To bring it together, they need more team fights right now on North American Rejects. So they need to put it together. Maybe a Sand King still in the pool. That would be very good for them. So that's an option. It's not bad against Lycan as well. If you can get the Caustic Finale, you can do a lot of AoE damage. But the Wolves are... Oh, Liquid's going to pick up the Sand King, so that's going to be denied. But they're still going to need some team fight in North American Rejects. As far as Team Liquid goes, they're really well-rounded right now.
Right.
They just need one support last. What's kind of strange about their line... not support, they need their mid last. So as far as that goes, they have the Sand King and the Disruptor, which is a good combo. Disruption and the Burrow Strike is very strong. And if they do not go aggressive against it, Sand King can duck into the jungle. The only problem they have right now is they have 2 junglers. Batrider wants to take that jungle, and so does the Sand King. So one of them is going to have to make a sacrifice within the early game, and it's probably going to be the Sand King, because I think Batrider is a higher priority to get that Blink Dagger.
Yeah, I very much agree with you. And, you know, waiting on NAR to show us their 4th pickup, I agree right now whenever you look at their initiation potential. Mirana, yes, she can hit an arrow. Disruptor isn't so much as a primary initiator as he is as he is a pursuit initiator. You know,
I might pick up Bane here for just a setup.
Yeah, something like that. I do really like the Disruptor pick. Looking at what Team Liquid has so far, whenever you have a Lycan obviously when he pops his ult, he wants to get in, do damage. If he gets in trouble, get out. That helps to cage the beast, so to speak. There's the Tidehunter we were talking about. Nice initiation and something they desperately needed. But he can actually also serve as a semi-counter to the Batrider's lasso. It has to be done very, very well, but you can make that happen if you're on the money. So. But like you said, the Disruptor play we've seen has been almost entirely localized to Snaw, and looks like NAR does want to try to replicate that success. Still waiting on the last pick on both sides, but with the front 4 out, I do feel like Team Liquid's lineup is much more well-rounded. They have good single-target initiation, they have good multi-target and good damage initiation with the Sand King, and then you've also just got the playmaking support in the Shadow Demon, and you can tack on a little bit of push power with the Lycan.
Yeah, I think both of them right now have really well-rounded lineups. Like I was saying with North American Rejects, they needed some type of team fight, stun initiation. They got it. They have their Tidehunter. So their team fight secured. They have Disruptor, Tidehunter. Their late game secured. They have the Dragonite Mirana. And up on Team Liquid right now, team fight is also secured, and initiation within the Batrider and and Sand King. They have good counter initiation too with Shadow Demon, but he's gonna have to be a little careful this game because the AoE on Static Storm is pretty big and Tide Ravage. So they can do big AoE damage without Shadow Demon getting the disruption off. So they're just gonna have to focus on doing that, and that'll be huge. And for the last part, they both just need one last hero, and it looks like Liquid needs their mid hero. Unless they decide to put the Bat Rider mid, but I don't think running Lycan is their only core. They could do Lycan mid as well.
Right.
It is a possibility.
I guess that if that's a Dragon Knight mid, that would make a lot of sense.
It would make sense as well. And for the last tier, we just need one more support up on NAR. No, we're not. Actually, yes, a support. I think Brax almost is exclusively their Tide Hunter player.
Yeah, Brax is Tide, as we've seen in the past, is very, very effective. We can see the last few bans out. Team Liquid actually taking out the Rubik. Was thinking that Rubik might, yeah, that makes sense. Would have been a nice fit for them. OD, the last ban out for NAR, so it definitely looks like they're anticipating the same thing you are, that they are looking for a mid hero here. Which mid do you think would really round the lineup out the best?
So it's either going to be safe lane or mid, because Lycan could go mid. It is a possibility, but they're going to go Invoker. And I'm not sure who's going to be playing that, but I believe Quakefa normally plays it, but they've been switching the roles up so much it's hard to know. But for me, with these two teams, the players to look out for is going to be Bulba on that Bat Rider and Brax on the Tide. These two teams, those two players make such a big impact on the game. If they have a good game, almost always they snowball and have like a pretty early victory, I want to say.
Yeah, and make no mistake, Bulba's going to be rolling in with a good feeling from his snowball potential earlier. I mean,
really good puck play out of him last game.
And that's easy to forget too, because Bulba in so many ways is oftentimes a space creator kind of a player. If he has a poor early game, you tend to see Team Liquid struggle a little bit because they don't get room for everyone else that they have on their lineup. But he can just flat out go ham, man. Like he's a player who has so much experience, knows how to take an advantage and push it from just about any position. And on the Bat Rider in particular, that's a hero that can completely swing a game.
Yeah, so last game on puck, he did just that. He played a really good puck. Totally just like took control of the game.
NAR rounds out their front five with the Enchantress. That's going to give them a fair amount of roam potential. And I really want to see how they end up laning this out. Like you said, Brax just about guaranteed to be on the Tide Hunter, Fogged on the Enchantress. 1437 on the Disruptor, I think, is kind of what we're all going to be keeping an eye on in the early stages of the game to begin with. But the laning, just based on what we see, and obviously we'll see them make their way into lane shortly. How do you think the lanes are going to shake out early on? What matchups are good? What matchups are bad?
We'll have to see. Quakefoot is playing that. Can they go aggressive? That's the question. They're probably not going to. So they're probably just going to put the Tide on the off lane. Does well against the Lycan. Minus 60% damage on the Anchor Smash. Makes them pretty secure in that lane. It's physical damage as well, which means the Wolves die very fast as well, even with the magic resistance. So usually what you see would happen, they took this Enchantress for, I think, one reason. The Enchantress Dragonite combo is very potent. As soon as Dragonite gets level 6, you just smoke up on the Enchantress with 2 creeps, you go get a kill there and you take a tower. It's very early game. Like, they can just take all the tier 1s very early. That's what they like doing. This is how this team likes to play. They like to group up as 5, get some heroes that have good team fight, good push, go around, take tower by tower by tower, and try to minimize their tower trades. So, and as far as Liquid goes, they're just going to try to get their levels up, get some Roshans, and it's going to be up to Quakefa and Bulba to create the space and defend the towers and find the picks to make just to stop the early aggression coming out from NAR within the first 15 minutes. As
we see, it will be TC on the Lycan with Quakefa on the Invoker. We'll see how they're going to end up laying it out. One would imagine it'll be, well, Quakefa is heading up to top, at least for the moment. So, yeah, I think a mid Lycan makes a ton of sense. And Lycan just benefits so much from the extra levels you get from a pure solo lane if you can keep yourself safe. But really, that's not even that much of a challenge so long as you're playing smart. You can do some harass with the wolves. You can even try to keep track of the runes if rune control is a big issue. And, it looks like that's what they're going to end up doing. TC is currently hovering around mid. And the horn's going to blow. Doesn't look like anyone's near anyone, so we'll look at the full lineups as the creeps spawn and we get underway for our grand finals of the North America Qualifier TI4. All of this coverage brought to you by, or presented by, I should say, Monster Energy. On the side of NAR, they'll have Brax on the Tide Hunter, your player to watch, one of 2 for this game. Korok will be on the DK as anticipated. Fogged is actually going to be handling that Disruptor with 1437. He's going to be on the Enchantress, and they'll have Snaking on the Mirana. On the other side of the river, we'll have TC handling this Lycan in mid. It'll be Quakefa, the standout, who has really been the heart and soul of this team in a lot of ways, not just through the qualifier, but for quite some time. He's going to be on the Invoker. He's up top. They're going to have Demon on the Sand King. He's going to be hanging around top, at least for the moment. Bulba's going to be out by himself down in bottom lane on the Bat Rider, and Shadow Demon going to be handled by Way Too Sexy.
And a good point to bring up about the mid Lycan as well is the biggest weakness Lycan has, and in tri-lane versus tri-lane scenarios, he's very weak. And a lot of teams will do that aggressive tri-lane and kind of like punish the Lycan. But in mid, it's a lot harder to punish the Lycan. He can just sit back, get his levels, and not really make his lane very weak. He's not the best laner. Brings some DK, he'll be just fine.
Oh yeah, exactly, and that's why it makes so much sense. Whenever you see like the DK versus Lycan matchup, both should do fine. I mean, the DK's not going to feel threatened at all, so he's certainly going to get his farm. But Lycan, just being the hero that he is at the current state of the patch and of the meta, he can take a game over on his own and just be an X factor that is hard to account for the entirety of the match. Bulba, in the meantime, doesn't like the way that bottom lane looks. Has already made his way into the jungle.
Yeah, that's a little surprising. I think he could have forced the level 2 down there because Disruptor can't really set up an arrow, and Enchantress will be jungling in the first couple waves, so I think he could have snuck level 2 bottom before jumping into the jungle, but he doesn't want to take any risk and just heads to the jungle right away.
Up at top, the off lane, Tidehunter. He's already level 2.5, so he's actually off to a surprisingly good start. The wave is sucked back, at least for the moment, and with a Shadow Demon Sand King, you do have to be careful with that Tidehunter. It doesn't look like he feels threatened, as he's only really seeing one in lane. And he actually got a ward out in lane, if you can see up there as well, just to make sure that he stays a little extra safe, always knows that he can account for everyone. But Wei-2 in the meantime, stacking that hard camp. And in mid, looks like we're going to have a rotation right off the bat. That will be a smoked up Enchantress. 1437 has himself a summoner, and TC is so low. There's the enchant, Breathe Fire, and the net. Great start for NAR as they draw first blood.
1437 has been picking up, I want to say almost every game, he's been picking up first blood for his team. He's creating a lot of space and doing a lot on the map, so if he keeps this up throughout this series, he's going to be a player to watch throughout the early game.
Yeah, he's definitely a playmaker on just about any position he decides to run. Bat coming in the mid just for a moment to leech some experience. Korok in the meantime found himself a regen, so that's very handy-dandy for him. And I would say this mid lane, even though we anticipated Lycan would do fine, the big weakness both of these heroes have, especially the Lycan not having a dedicated stun, is just how gankable they are, and NAR wisely applying the pressure and getting the job done.
One thing I wanted to note as well on this top lane, the weakness of no matter how they lane this, I think Brax is going to have a fairly easy time. Invoker isn't the strongest laner from the first couple of levels, so he's able to force out those early levels. He's up to level 3 already and has a double wave, so he's going to get that level 4 in no time. And level 4 around 3 minutes is going to be a big deal. He's going to have Ravage up very early. Even if he's forced out of this lane, Tide is a hero that can go to the jungle if he does feel threatened.
Yeah, it does create a moment of worry. When you look at how strong NAR can get if their lanes go well, and you look to about 10-15 minutes in, you have the push power of the Enchantress, the utility of a Mirana. Dragon Knight, once he hits 6, can obviously push like all hell. And if you have an early Ravage up, that's going to be very difficult, I think, for Liquid to engage into when you have a Lycan who is already having a little bit of a struggle here in mid. If you're Liquid, how do you account for this?
Well, I'm worried about the early game because if you look at the map, well, Brax is gonna, he's just looking to steer. They might be able to go on him here.
Disruption on the Brax. This would be a nice pick if they can get it. Cold Snap to follow it. He's down to about half health, gets off the gush. He's going to go ahead and head down river. Doesn't have any help on the way. Tornado to follow it. And this should be a return kill for Liquid as he tries to crest the high ground. He actually Krakens a little bit there, and he will make it to the secret shop. He's trying to eat through the trees to find a path to safety. Not quite lucky enough for that. 4 minutes in, it's 1-1.
Luckily for them, well, obviously not luck, but on top of the Anchor Smash, you get minus 60% damage, but they had the Howl there, too, to kind of counteract that. Yeah. So they just had just enough damage to bring him down.
That's such an excellent point, and it's so easy to underestimate the value of Howl in the early game. We will see another rotation as NAR wants to get the lead back into their hands. Bulba's level 4, and his Firefly is going to be on cooldown momentarily. He's got about half time left on it. Fog playing very patiently just around the bend there. Has that Invis rune. He is going to allow this lane to shove out a little bit. We'll see how long Fog is going to dedicate to trying to make something happen here. Looks like there will be another wave pushing through, so they're going to have a chance to dive in. Yeah, that's just good game sense. That's Bulba's experience kicking in. He knows this feels a little wonky, and he knows that there was a rune at 4 minutes, so he's playing far back.
Yeah, very good game sense from Bulba. If he gets caught out with a glimpse, he's pretty much dead, because you can throw an arrow on top of the glimpse if you time it correctly. It's not easy to do, but if you do get it, it's almost a sure kill for them.
Yep. Fogged will go ahead and abandon his post, so Bulba keeping himself alive. And let's take a look at the early efficiency. Just in 5 minutes, I want to see how the goal graph is stacking
at zero.
up.
Both are at 0.
That's kind of what I expected to see, really. So we're talking dead even after 5 minutes, still very early on. A lot can happen, but both of these teams playing a very tight game of Dota.
They both are running a similar style of lineup. I will give the late game advantage to Gnar just because Lycan isn't the greatest hero late game. He kind of shines in the mid game. Same with Invoker. So the later this game goes, and if it stays even, I'm going to give Gnar like the advantage here. And they both have very good push with the Lycan and the Dragon Knight. Very similar. So if Gnar gets off to a good start, I could see them snowballing really hard. Whereas Liquid, they need to get a lot of Roches. They need to split push as much as they can and then take the team fights with the Batrider.
Taking a look at the early CS, we can see Marana tops the board at 34, 29 and 23, bringing up the next two positions for Team Liquid, 30 for the Invoker, 23 for Lycan. So Lycan's bounced back and is doing just fine. Mid 22 for the DK, and they tried to make something happen on Bulba there, and it looks like he mistimed the glimpse. And Bulba will be able to Firefly over into the woods to keep himself safe. So it's a lot of experience they fed to him by trying to shove those waves. And he's beginning to catch up. Korok, though, finds himself a haste rune, wants to go ahead and go for the end around. Firefly's going to be on cooldown. Dragon Tail and the ulti used at the same time, and that's a for sure kill. Arrow secures it through the trees as Snaking lands the sacred arrow.
That
makes it
2 towers.
Yep, makes it 2-1, and now that bottom tier 1 down as well.
They might keep going, and someone's going to have to go back. And I thought they were going to give Batrider the priority in the jungle, but no, they're saying Batrider, just try to do what you can on this bottom lane, delay the push as much as you can, and we're going to get this blink on Sand King. So they took a different approach, and Sand King's staying close to that blink dagger, but Batrider will be suffering for it.
You think that's the right call, sacrificing the bat for the blink on the Sand King?
It can work, but I'd rather see the Batrider get that blink up first. But especially because they're not able to defend these towers down here, and the arrow's going to connect.
Koikva caught out. Bulba's coming in to try to make something happen. Great kinetic field, though. Koikva going to end up dying inside of it. Lasso's there on the fog, but they have nothing to follow it up. Now Demon's going to come in, hit a burrow strike onto Korok. Not a lot of mana, but the, beautiful glimpse. 1-4-3-7 made up for it there. Do they have detection? No, yes, they do. And they were attacking him due to that sentry ward they had dropped. And Bulba might end up dropping here as well. Let's see if he's going to go for it. He doesn't have the mana for a leap. And there it is, a triple kill. At 7 minutes in, make it 5-1. North American Rejects blow this game open with a big push in bottom.
That's what I was talking about with this lineup. If they're able to get these early pushes without Liquid defending them, they're going to have a hard time in this game. This is looking really good for Gnar, because once they get up that Dragon form again, they're just going to go for these other tier 1s. They just got a tier 2. I don't think they expected this to happen. This is much better than what they expected.
Can't see who picked up that Midas. I see someone did just pick it up.
Enchantress.
Enchantress, okay, that makes sense. Grabbing the Midas up. Now, if you're Team Liquid, things have kind of, I mean, you're not out of this match by any stretch of the imagination, so a lot of Dota to be played, but you've made some decisions that are going to have a long impact. Tide's done okay on the side of NAR. You've prioritized the Sand King and given little priority, if none, to the Batrider. Is that going to come back to haunt them?
What's really going to hurt them is they need at least one Blink Dagger up, and the way they chose to split the farm, neither of them have a Blink Dagger now. It's 8 minutes in. Usually you see a Sand King with a Blink Dagger this time, or a Batrider, and neither of them are going to have it, which means they're going to have a free reign to all these tier 1s until the Blink Dagger is up. They have no other means to defend other than an Invoker.
Yep, and the Invoker, as we've seen him, he's run tri-lane, so his levels, not quite where you would want them at this stage of the game. He's not hurting terribly, but at level 7. Just as scary, though, is the fact that Tidehunter is very, very close to his Blink, and he finishes Arc Boots. And I'm pretty sure he's actually closer than you would like at this point. Now it's going to be a glimpse in mid that'll bring back TC. TC eating a bit of damage. He's going to have TP support, though. But even those TPs come at a cost. I mean, not just the material cost of spending the teleport scroll, but time wasted. Lanes that have less pressure on them. And look at Brax. Brax is at 1,000 gold plus Arc Boots now in a tri-laned Tide. He was in the off lane. He's level 7, has Ravage ready to go. Does NAR prioritize getting his Blink, or do you think they just go ahead and start taking the fight without it?
They go, because right now they do not have Blink Daggers on Liquid, and this is their opportunity to use this Ravage. And right now, if they don't have Blink initiation, I'm saying he's getting very, very close. If they can manage to, they're TPing on top lane. It looks like they're probably going to blow a Ravage for this.
Yep. Demon caught with a Ravage. Korok's there to follow it up, and that used to be a Sand King. Brought down quicker than you can even call the abilities. There's no one in the vicinity of that top lane, and again, a Dragon Knight, even at just level 8, can push ridiculously quick. He's already got up an Ogre Club, too, so he's going with a straight BKB rush just to account for what little damage and what little counter-initiation Liquid has to bear.
I like this from Tide as well. He's skipping the Blink Dagger and going straight for the mech.
That makes so much sense. Kinetic Field in mid. Oh, beautiful Centaur Stomp to follow it as well. There's going to be the EMP and the Static Storm going down at the same time. Koikva just melting underneath it and will end up dying as well. However, they will manage to get at least 2 returns. So Fogged and Snaking getting a little ahead of themselves that time and getting punished. At the same time, though, that top lane tier 1 tower did end up dropping.
That was good for Liquid. It was something. They still lost some. They lost top tower out of it, but they were going to lose that anyway. So they managed to get 2 kills on the board. It wasn't big for them, but it was something they needed for sure. The kill on Sand King on top lane was big. He was very close to his Blink Dagger, and then he died right before he got it. He was on track for a 7-minute Blink, but he had to defend bottom, died. Went top to farm, died again. So it's going to be around, he's a couple hundred gold off it now, so it's going to be like an 11-minute Blink Dagger, which is still pretty fast. But what's really the problem is Batrider. It's 11 minutes, he still does not have his Blink Dagger, and he's only at 1,600 gold.
Yep, Demon should have his. Has enough money now Bat is getting close, but this could turn that around. Oh, this could be a good pick if they can get it, and they will. Dragon Tail's there, snaking right on top of him. Arrow to follow, and it seems like poor Bulba, as good as a game as he had to close the last series, this has been a tough one for him to open things back up. 8-3 now stands the score coming up on 11 minutes.
And right now you can see the item selections from Gnar. It's really calculated on what they want to do. Korok's going to go straight for the BKB. We've got the Drums Aquila up on Snaking, so he has the utility for his team. They're going for the mech too. They just kind of want to ball up, take all these tier 1s, and then snowball off that.
TC still trying to find his relevancy.
Another smoke income top lane. Probably might find the Lycan here.
Looking for a target. That top lane is pushed as well. So TC, this could be big if they manage to catch TC out. Just slowing him down, because right now it seems like he's really their last great hope. The Blinks will be out soon for Liquid, so that's going to help give them a little bit more counter-initiation potential. But for the most part, still rough roads ahead. And the smoke has yet to be popped. Let's see if they want to come down. We see the Sand King is hiding in the woods right there. And yeah, he does have the blink. That's an excellent point to make. I knew he bought it, just didn't know if he'd buried it to himself yet. Looks like they just want to push mid.
Do they have the mech up on the Tidehunter? Not quite. He's getting close, so I wouldn't be surprised if they just scatter now and wait for that mech. Like, a mech will negate a lot of the AoE damage from the Sand King, which could turn the fight, especially when you have innate heroes that are really tanky, such as Tidehunter and Dragonite. Just one level in Epicenter will not be enough to bring him down with the mechanism.
Well, the problem is, too, the Dragonite is getting very close to his BKB. He's about 1,000 gold off of it as of right now. So, I mean, if they wait on a mech and a BKB, when you look at Liquid and just the way things have shaken out, with a Bat Rider and a Sand King as well as an Invoker, I mean, hell, even including the Shadow Demon, it's all about them getting the jump, all about them getting the primary initiation and taking advantage of it. But now you have great counter initiation with the Tidehunter, and you have an extremely mobile, tough to track down Mirana on top of a BKB Dragon Knight. You know, they're looking ahead to that. What do you think their plan is to try and account for that? I mean, is it just as simple arrow off, just to the south? Is it just as simple as we got to move better, or is there more to it than that?
Oh, it looks like the good news for them is bottom lane. They're going to go in, so we'll hold up on that thought real quick. But it looks like TC, if he plays it right, will be able to get out. But yeah. They can't really defend right now until they get the Blink Dagger on Bat Rider, I feel like they really need it, but at this point, it's so late, they can deal with it. They have the tools to deal with it. Like, Tide can just either tank the lasso, if he wants, he can be way in front, or he can just be next to whoever gets lassoed, pop the Ravage, kill the Bat Rider, and that's all they need to just take 2 towers. So Liquid has to be very careful on where they tread right now. They're on the back foot, and I think the big thing for them is taking the Sand King and the Bat Rider, and then giving the priority to the Sand King is kind of hurting them right now. I feel like Bat Rider has had no impact on this game, and if you get your blink too late on that hero, it's not that effective.
They gave him no help. They stuck him out in that off lane, and he lost 2 towers after dying once. I mean, and you can't underestimate the power of that. Korok's right there. TC comes around just in time to scare him away. Finally, though, Bulba does have that blink. Coming into these fights, who's going to be the #1 blink target? Will be the DK. Hold that thought as Fog is rotated over. Kinetic Field Static Storm. TC is down for sure. And he's just having such a hard time really getting into gear. He will use the ulti, but to no avail. The Wolves might actually get a kill on Fog, and they do, so doesn't happen without any kind of recourse.
Indeed. He may have lived there if that was the old Lycan, to be honest with you, because he would have had that little bit of HP, and the haste may have been enough to get him out of that, but unfortunately the new nerfs to Lycan showing him that he's, well, I don't know, that's a little nerf. It doesn't show up very often, but right there it did.
Yeah, most definitely. A lot of times it just comes down to the move speed.
Yeah.
And the tankiness is nice, but it's not what gets you away. But that time definitely didn't make a difference. In mid, we could see 4 from Liquid beginning to gather. BKB is now done on Korok. Has it in his inventory as well.
That's big.
Yep, and there's the mech. They're ready to go. Mech and BKB done. They even popped the Illusion Rune. And they're ready to push down this tier 1. Qualifier living on the edge. It's going to be glimpsed. I was actually thinking that was a threat if you got too close. But throws the tornado out. Not going to catch much of anyone. Tower goes down for free. Qualifier needs to get out of there. He's going to be real careful. As Glimpse has a long-ish cooldown, but certainly not super long. But he makes it away, and now, yeah, we see the pinging on top. You think they rotate top, or they keep pushing mid?
It's up to them at this point. I think they wait for the Dragonite ult because it just expired. 30 more seconds or 35 more seconds on it. But every time Dragonite's ult, they can take every tower they want right now. So the only hope Liquid has right now is to get pick-offs. And they looks like they find one. So that initiation with the blinks finally coming into play. They didn't use the epi either, which is big. Lasso is down. Not a big deal. It'll be up soonish. But it's up to them to find the picks. Oh, the glimpse.
Yep, glimpse. And he actually blinks in the opposite direction, but it's snuffed out. Snaking. Here comes Korok. Korok going to try to get close. Uses a drum charge to try and run him down. And now just trying to find some safety, even using the Sandstorm for that moment of invis. And Snaking's going to continue to see him. They've chased him all the way from just about the bottom tier 1 to the Radiant Side Secret Shop, and Demon, hard work, dedication, got him away there.
Demon show right there. And luckily for him, they choose not to chase. Actually, it's probably... Oh, they might be able to TP on this. That's Enchantress, but Link is on cooldown. Not able to get the slow off. He has max level slow, so that could have been a kill if he had detection, but he does not have detection. So he's off safely. Well, what I want to note is really smart by Gnar there is they realize, all right, we're not going to waste a lot of time chasing this hero down. A lot of amateur teams will be like, all right, let's get this guy. They chase him around the map, and then on the other side of the map, the rest of the team is catching up. So a really good game sense from Gnar. It's like, yeah, maybe they could have got him, but at what cost, you know?
Yep.
But so they chose not to go, and I believe that was a smart decision from them. And as far as Liquid goes, they're really on the back foot here. I don't think they can defend any of their tier 2s unless they get perfect initiation off. So they need to look for some ganks so they can't group up, or they need to defend inside their tier 3s and hope for a really good Burrow Strike combination or a Batrider to drag them way into their tower. But they're going to need a 4-staff on Batrider before that's happening.
I really like the way Liquid is trying to cope with the situation they're in right now. Constantly that bottom lane's being pressured, and they're having to send back not just one, but two. You know, they want to go down there. If you're going to send someone down, you want to send multiple people down to secure a kill, because one's a little chancy. And so far, Liquid has dodged that. They haven't brought the tower down yet, but they have kept Gnar, for the most part, on their side of the map. That could change now, though, as we do have... Yep, Qualifier using his 4-staff, going to turn it around with a Tornado EMP. That's going to be 1-4-3-7, hit with the Cold Snap as well. This should be a solo kill for him. And Bulba there just to make sure it goes the way they wanted to. So Qualifier with some much-needed gold and experience, solo kill in the jungle. And I honestly think that and Gnar is certainly still ahead, and like you said, Liquid's on the back foot, but I think they're managing this extremely well.
Yeah, if you look at the experience graph, like the way they're splitting the map right now is they're getting back in the lead in the experience. They're still behind. They're managing with the gold a little bit, but it's all about the experience from them. They need their levels. They need the level 11 on Sand King. They need the Batrider to get his level 11 as well, and they just need to be able to get these picks. Find the picks, split the map, and just don't let them gather together. Like, if Gnar is strongest when they group as 5, so do not allow them to do that.
Speaking of mid, we've got 4. Tier 1 still standing, all the Tier 1 still standing, as a matter of fact, for Gnar. So map control firmly in their favor. Only 2 outer tier towers still remaining on the side of Team Liquid. And Dragon Knight continuing to ride the top of the overall net worth chart, though Qualifier is beginning to gain some ground. Snaking's right on par with the Lycan, though. So let's take a look at Snaking. I want to see where he's decided to go with his item build. Yeah, he is going to be going with the Maelstrom. That's kind of what I was thinking. At this point, they have the lead. Why not press it with a very nice mid-game item?
Yeah, this is like the most standard Mirana build you'll see. And they did smoke in mid lane, but that was scouted out. I saw a Qualifier ping on that, so they do know their smoke, so they're going to play really passive. And it looks like they're going to counter smoke too, maybe going for a little bit of a bait here on TC.
1-4-3-7 could end up dying again.
He's died twice in a row now. If this is 3 times, that will not be good for his progression.
Well, the thing is, he's got 1,400 gold. Here we go. Lasso going to be used. Let's see how Gnar wants to react. 1-4-3-7's down for sure. That tier 1, even if they come now, yeah, that's the only thing they can do is try to shove in this mid lane. Problem is, you got 2 supports, the Tidehunter and the Disruptor, trying to make that happen up at top. Snaking's doing his thing and pushing there, but it's a for sure tier 1 down at bottom, and they have plenty of time to respond and try to defend if they want to. We see 1 TP, yep. A few going off now. If you're Gnar, do you continue to press, or do you just rotate into the jungle, try to put them in the dark?
They should rotate to top lane, meet up with their Mirana, and I think they can probably take that tower because they have the positioning over in this area.
Yep.
And you can see the world of difference it's been making. Once Liquid got their Blink Daggers, it feels like they're back in the game.
Yep.
What really hurt them was how slow those Blink Daggers came out.
Yep. What would have been the correct way to change that? Do you think giving the bat priority first and letting the Sand King catch up later?
I think that was the way to go, but unfortunately they did die too many times too, which wasn't accounted for. But it looks like they're going to catch Quark. He does have the BKB though, forced to pop it.
Uses his 10-second BKB. Pretty sure that was his first usage of it. And now Moonlight Shadow's going to be there. They may try to catch someone straggling, and Way2's way out there. He's, I thought.
Bottom lane as well. They're giving a free tower to Lycan.
Yeah, they need to make up their mind right now. They're going to push or not. TC doing good damage, and they're going to go ahead and just try to trade tier 2 mid for tier 2 bottom. That tier 2 bottom certainly a value, but they have 4 towers up elsewhere. And this is going to be the last outer tier tower remaining for Liquid. I actually feel like that's a good trade for them, just being able to completely take away the last vestiges of map control, even if you do manage to give TC a little bit of extra farm.
Yeah, they needed to claw their way back in this game, and they've done a phenomenal job of doing so. I think they've managed to knot it all up now. It's a very close game, especially because the way Gnar built their heroes, they built really mid-game oriented, whereas they're building Midases on, they have the Midas on Invoker, and TC's going, what is he going for? He's going for a straight BKB, so he's not going for the Necro Book, which I like. Enchantress can always steal that. We saw that yesterday. When you steal the book, it's not too, yeah, it's basically wasting money and giving it to the other team, so that's always not a good thing to do. And what do we have for Tide? He went straight gem, and he has a Blink Dagger now, and we have Shadow Blade up on DK. So this is where we can find pick-off potential for Gnar with the Shadow Blade on the DK.
Yeah, I like the BKB rush on the Lycan as well. I mean, even just aside from skipping book against an Enchantress, he's going to be fighting. He's going to have to. You know, you've lost all your towers. It's 21 minutes. Gnar's not going to want to take this any later than they have to. And they've, like you said, they didn't build for that to begin with. So BKB, much more of a fighting item than a Necro Book at this stage of the game when you know you're going to be under pressure. There's that key Force Staff you were talking about for the Bad Rider. So Bulba, even though he struggled, has caught up some. He's still actually 600 gold behind the Tidehunter in terms of overall farm. And I think it has to be said again. You said at the beginning of the match that Brax was going to be one to watch on that Tidehunter, and he's lived up to the hype. Yeah,
well, he hasn't got too many Ravages off, to be honest with you. He's been a little quiet, but Brax is, they're now going to push, and without any BKBs up, except for the Lycan, he should have one coming to him soon. They can probably defend this. The only thing he's going to have to watch out for is that Anchor Smash. It does go through BKB, so it will reduce a lot of the damage Lycan can output.
Tornado does a fair amount of damage. Let's see if they're going to reset and push or not. I'll tell you what would be great for Gnar, and what I think they need to be prioritizing as soon as possible to try and crack this base. They need a pipe.
Yeah, Tide may go for that next. He's really far away from it, so no hero is actually close to it. Yeah. Enchantress is going for the Aghanim, so she's not going for any more utility. So, as I was saying before, Gnar does have the better late game, especially with this Enchantress getting closer to the Ags with that Midas pickup. I feel like Liquid is on a timer in this game.
Snaking, taking a fair amount of farm. Enchantress, as you said, more than halfway done, actually just about 3/4 done with her Scepter now. And like this is why losing towers early is so big, especially with the Lycan. He did what he's going to do. He split pushed away from the fight. But now you can split push mid if you want, but for the most part, Gnar's going to have the option of just constantly living in your jungle. Just live in your jungle, funnel you down, try to force you to do something like we're seeing now. They're considering a Roshan, and that can be a big turning point with the Tidehunter and especially with a Disruptor on their team as well. And you know, what do you think? Like, okay, we're at 23 minutes now, and you're in the captain seat of Liquid. What are you telling your team? What's the game plan?
I think what they need to do is they need to use the Sand King and this Bat Rider to find a pick off on somewhere on the map and get that Lycan into Roshan. Because Roshan is still up. They really need an Aegis to win a team fight, I feel. Because they have a lot of cooldowns, like the Ravage, the Static Storm. They blow those, and if Lycan or one of these heroes like Invoker can come back after getting that brunt of damage, they can potentially win a team fight. I don't see them actually winning a team fight without having that Aegis on them, so they just need to find the picks and do what they were doing earlier. Split the map, find the gank opportunities, and have Lycan get objectives on his own. And I think the next objective that he can do is probably going to be Roach. Getting a tier 1 may be a lot harder. They got the tier 2's bottom. They don't have to worry about that anymore. Like, bottom is like, alright, we lost 2 towers. Alright, we don't have to worry about them anymore. So they're going to focus on the 2 mid tower, the mid tower and top tower. And yeah, so Roshan is what they need to be finding. It's going to be hard, though. It's going to be very hard. They do have vision of it, so he's going to need to smoke in.
I think they need a pick. I think they need to get...
Yeah, Bat Rider needs a pick.
Yep, they need a pick, and then they need to collapse Roshan and hope for the best. Because Gnar's item progression is continuing along the lines we've been talking about. Pipe still far away, unless somebody started building and I didn't notice. But more importantly, we're beginning to see BKBs come out more and more. BKB is up on the Mirana, and the Mirana plus the DK being in the position they are as the primary damage dealer is very close, I should say. He's still got a little bit to go, but not very, very far, about 750 gold-ish. But once those are up, cracking the base becomes much less intimidating. Because, I mean, in fairness, Liquid does have a tough team to take a tier 3 against. You've got the Sand King and the Bad Rider to worry about. Invoker, of course, is always a problem with Tornado EMP. But if your damage dealers just don't have to care and the rest of your team can stay back away from the fight, especially when the Enchantress gets the Scepter up, the added range, the added damage, just a single target fire down, the Lycan, all of a sudden the rest of your team fight, which is primarily oriented around the Sand King and the Invoker, that kind of falls off.
Indeed it does. And right now, Liquid still, they're just playing this passive type of game. They're not confident in their ability to find the picks. And I believe that gives Gnar the advantage here. We do need, like you were saying, I'd like to see the Bat Rider find the picks. Even if they go for the pick and it fails and they force reaction, Lycan can get more space, get the Roche, take a tier 1 tower mid maybe, And other than that, the only other way I see them coming back from this is if Gnar decides to group up and push, but I don't think they're in any hurry right now.
Yeah. Looks like they're definitely wanting to take their time, and the Enchantress gets much closer. We're actually going to see Helm of the Dominator pick up on Lycan. That's interesting.
Helm of the Dominator?
Or Helm of Iron Will, excuse me.
That is probably an Armlet.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Yeah, Armlet makes more sense there. Dominator, you can still win Enchantress creeps, but it's not like a Chin, so it's not that big of a deal. So he's probably going to go for that Armlet build. It's one of the more cost-effective builds on Lycan, so he's going all in for that mid-game, which once again worries me a little bit. Lycan's going to be forced to pop his ult on the bottom lane.
Why the Armlet pick up instead of something like a Basher?
Little more HP. Most people do it. You know when Alchemist got nerfed, he didn't get the bonus HP, but on mid lane, looks like they're going to get the Dragon Tail off.
Yep, Qualifier brought down. That's a big kill and way too tardy to the party with that disruption.
Oh,
and he's going to be glimpsed back. Fogged right where he needs to be. That's 2 big picks. We've been talking about the necessity of pickoffs, but wrong team, and now they're going to be ready to push. And we can see them collapsing from all corners of the map now, heading in that direction. It's about a 10K overall net worth lead for them, and to make things worse, Snaking finishes his BKB just as they're ready to crack this.
This may be a Rax here. They should have Dragon Knight's ult up. They're going to pop it. Glyph is down. They're going to do the rebuy, so they have to fight now or Rax is going to go down.
Yep. They're going to have to do it without the Shadow Demon. He'll be back up in about 5 seconds, though. Tier 3 for sure is down. Looks like they're trying to figure out a way to get into this fight. Tornado. I didn't see if that got anything behind him, but it missed the DK. He's going to go ahead and pull back just to stay safe, and looks like he might want to re-siege. Nope. Pulling back again, so a lot of patience being shown out of NAR. You think they could push this?
I mean, actually, if they get a pick now, they might put it on the Batrider.
Yep,
they're
moving ahead.
Go for the attack first.
Sentries go down, and immediately going to be taken out by the Tide with that gem. The ranged Rax, they're not even contesting this. They're playing so far back. And there comes a point, I mean, yes, you're letting TC split push, but they're going to have plenty of time to go back to the house and chase away the big bad wolf.
They just don't have the damage right now. Oh, they're going to grab one.
Lasso, that's going to be Fogged. And Fogg's actually, he is brought to the high ground, but there's a huge Ravage. Caught just about everyone remaining up. Epicenter, he has to walk it in. Finally, he burrow strikes. Nice amount of damage comes out of that. And the rest of the damage, though, being dealt by NAR. TC using his BKB. That's going to be a Rax that cost him nothing but a Disruptor. And keep in mind, that was a dieback for Qualifier. He bought back and then just basically watched his base get banged away and then die again. So don't know that Liquid has a whole lot more time left in this game. It's 14-8 and a huge swing that time.
Unfortunately for Liquid, they don't have one of those lineups that they had last time when they were 1 Rax advantage against Snaw. They were down. They don't have a lineup that comes back as good. So this 1 Rax is going to be a major problem. The only chance they have in this game is just hopefully get some picks. And if they can't find the picks, Gnar, if they play it correctly, they won't allow them to get the picks. They'll just stay together now. They've got double gem on Tidehunter now. So they collected the gem from Liquid, so they have no map control whatsoever. And after getting a Rax, you can bet all of them probably have a big lump of gold that they need to spend.
Well, I mean, it only makes sense. Like, the situation they're in, mid is now Megas. And you've lost both of your bottom lane towers. That's fine. So why don't you just group as 5, push down bottom, siege bottom, make them either push into Megas, get to your tier 1, which is going to be slow to begin with, or if you really want to, or if they want to split push as far away as they can, they still have to go through two towers in that top lane and still get back to defend their base. This is probably the right call, but it looks like Gnar knows what's up. They're hovering around. Yep, there's an arrow that actually caught him. And they're going to leap forward. BKB is going to be used. TC in trouble. Bubba's going to come in and get the lasso off. And the rest of NAR following this up. They managed to bring down the Shadow Demon once again. TC trying to use his BKB to get away. Auto attacks, bring him down from the low ground. Looks like Snaking can't even bring him down. 1437 getting that kill. The Scepter. Yep, they're just going to call it.
Ran out of steam there.
Yep, 16-8. By the time all's said and done, NAR runs completely out of gas. And Liquid, early on, the lanes didn't go their way, and it ends up costing them mightily. Looks like we don't get to see the Ancient blow up. Instead, we get to watch Roshan do a little treadmill action.
That's weird, actually.
Yeah, it's the first time I've ever seen that. Well, we talked about it during the laning phase, man. It's like let's just go step by step. The draft we both felt was very strong and